Disclaimer. This podcast showcases business partners and friends that engage in lively conversations about books over many drinks. Content may not be suitable for viewers under 21.
Grab a good book, get some great booze, and grab a good buddy to share it with, right?
Yeah. Hey, cheers.
A hurricane, yes. So we launched this channel.
She added more.
I did. I added more rum.
I'm not going to make it through.
You'll be fine. So we launched this channel and this podcast really to take you along with us as we explore the realms of literature and libations, all really in purpose of really enriching your mindset around business.
Yeah, and personal too. Because Guess what? I don't know what's going on with the stigma that you can't be drinking. You got to wake up at 5 a.m. You got to be doing a bunch of exercises in order to be a good business owner. I'm going to tell you, no, man, get a good book,
get some good booze,
and get a buddy to share it with.
And have fun. You're doing it, right?
Have fun. It's the purpose of life.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk business. Well, let's start with the booze. We have been enjoying, and actually, no, this hasn't touched height-wise because we liked it so much that we bought a bigger one that we are moving through.
Go get the bigger one. There's
one right there. Look at right there. We need a magic hand. And the magic hand,
Daddy, pass me the big bottle.
The big bottle. Yes, the magic hand is going to bring. There's the magic hand. Do you see? We got the big one, and that's just from today.
We don't play.
So anyways, we're really enjoying the Siesta Key Spice Rum out of Siesta Key, Florida on the Gulf Coast. Again, so beautiful. I know you said you haven't been yet and it hasn't been that long since we talked. So at some point, we definitely got to go.
Oh, we're going to go. And then we're going to do a books and booze on the side.
Love that.
Drinking some more.
Yeah, because they have a coconut rum.
Oh, so
they have several different rums that they offer. So I'm excited to try some of the others.
And we can visit their distillery, right?
We absolutely should. The Drum Circle Distillery or Drum Circle. Mm-hmm.
Gonna go.
Absolutely, yes. All right. So the book we're doing, Your Next 5 Moves, right? What drew you to this book? Or how did you hear about him? Because it wasn't the book first. You listened to him, right?
Yeah. So Next 5 Moves is by Patrick Bet-David. He's actually the content creator for Valuetainment on YouTube. Highly successful channel. He has well over 1 million subscribers. He gives great information about how to start your business on the right foot and motivational talks, real talks. You know, he gets down to the nitty gritty and he doesn't sugarcoat things about what it takes, the grit it takes in order to be a successful business owner. And so he came recommended. Well, actually, I fell upon him I didn't fall upon him. Okay, let's. Anyways, I stumbled across his channel on YouTube, and then later on, I was recommended his book by some friends. And so that was one of the reasons why we decided to pick it up.
Yeah. It's been really great so far. So the past few podcasts, we've dug into, his backstory, right? This is yet another author that is not a trust fund baby or some rich kid who launched his own business and made it successful.
Yeah.
This Patrick literally left a war-torn Iran and literally left the city hours before the bridge was blown up.
Yeah.
And grew up partially in refugee camps in Europe and then made it to America. And mom was on welfare. He was in and out of work. Ended up just quitting on the spot somewhere due to his temper and just really feeling that things weren't honored. So he had several things that really took him to truly rock bottom. And from there, he catapulted a phenomenal career, built a lot of wealth, built a legacy.
Yeah, he did. And all of those experiences are his fuel.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, those of you thinking of starting a business and I don't have the money, well, he didn't either. And he made it happen. So I like that one of the Jim Rohn things I listened to, he was told, well, if you don't have money, that's not the problem. And
Yeah.
a lot of us think, well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why I can't. But
Well, that's the limiting factor, right? People go in and say, I don't have enough money to start a business. But yet you've got someone who comes in with 10 cents and they figure out how to make $100 and they invest their $100 into some product that goes and makes them $1 million.
it really everyday people.
It really just depends on how you value yourself, your time, and your worth.
Absolutely. So far what we have dug into was Master Knowing Yourself. Love that. And so many books that we've read have encouraged that. You really have to dissect who you are and respect your journey and everything like that. Master the Ability to Reason.
Yep.
And then last week we dug into Master Building the Right Team. Actually, I think we did Ability to Reason and Building the Right Team together. I think is what we ended up doing. And now this week we are digging into Master the Strategy to Scale.
Yes.
This is so exciting.
Yes. And in the progression of his book, so I find like it kind of progresses with the startup, right? You're starting out in your business and this and that. And then eventually you get to a point where you just need to scale and grow. And I like how he breaks down, I don't agree with all of them. Well, we'll go into that later. But he does talk about the growth stage,
Absolutely.
right? Which is what we're covering today.
Yep. And he really sublabels this scaling for exponential growth. And when we read EMIS, I think that really positioned people with the mindset of having the turnkey business. And really, if your goal is to have more time with your family, then you do need to position your business to grow big enough that it can afford somebody for you to hire to manage it so that you have that free time and you can manage from afar, own it from afar.
Yeah.
Right. Versus needing to be the janitor, the selling person.
I've been a janitor too.
Of course.
Cleaning the toilets in the office. Yeah.
That's okay. Right. But yes, so he talks about really preparing for that. And he discusses what he calls 4 phases of every startup.
Yeah.
And you start with the formulation stage. You're building ideas. You may not even know exactly how you're going to do it yet, but you know that you're an expert in a certain industry, or there's an industry that you were ready to disrupt because something's not right about it in your community or your circle. So you got formulation, and then you've got survival, right? You were just trying to keep the doors open so you're making enough money. And I feel like we read about Sarah in E-Myth, where she was in survival stage, right? She was getting up at 4 a.m, not going home till like 11 or 12 at night.
Yeah, sleeping 4 or 5 hours and then rinse and repeat.
And our business was running her.
Yeah.
And then begins the momentum piece.
Yeah.
And then plateau. And from there, then it seems like maybe there's a little bit of repetition unless you plan for scaling.
Yeah. And then that's yes and no. And that's the part where I kind of agree and disagree. I think there's those business cycles happen often, even at the so you plateau and then you go back through all 4 of those stages again. After that,
how do you reinvent yourself?
Yeah.
So you're formulating again.
Exactly. And then you plateau again at that current business model that you created, and you go through the stage again. So that's where I like it's a constant evolution that you will have to go through, which is why the mindset is so important.
Sure. Absolutely. And then he talks about questions you can ask, I guess, how to really raise before you go to start raising money. Some people, sometimes it's how are you going to raise money for this to either grow or even open your business? What does your ideal investor look like? I think that's a really important question. I think a lot of people just throw darts and put a lot of grant bids and investor requests and SBA loans, and they're just throwing darts. But I think Patrick's really saying, you want to find somebody that understands.
Well, and you also want to make sure you're not in that survival mode either, right? Why are you submitting all these bids? Are you doing it out of desperation to keep your business afloat, or are you doing it to scale growth? So
exactly. He also asks, are you wanting to keep control of the business?
Yeah.
Like if you're wanting money and you're wanting to go after investors, certain investors want to serve on a board.
Yeah.
And have X amount of say in things and hold a certain amount of voting until they get X amount of money back. So it just really depends on how much power you want to retain. I love that he also talks about, are you building a business that you're intending to sell?
Yes. And that was one challenge that we had in our business too, was understanding what the end goal looked like. Because, when you first go into business, especially if you're just a solopreneur, right? You were let's just say you were selling in farmers markets. It did really well. You sold online. You expanded e-commerce. Now you've got people coming at you saying, hey, I want to have your product in our stores. And now you're taking on investors. Time out and think, where do you want to be in 10 years? What does the end look like for you? Is this something that you wanted to have as a legacy company that you're passing down to further generations? Or did you want to cash out? Because your end goal that you decided on should determine the steps you're taking today.
Yeah.
You know, and that was
his thinking 5 moves ahead.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. What do you want to accomplish?
Exactly. Yeah. What do you want to accomplish with your business? And it's very important, especially when you're talking about taking on investors, because your investors are going to come in with their own ideas of what they want to do with your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, we even, as you know, we're building Books and Booze right here, right? And I love that you asked me earlier today, where do you see this 10 years from now? And it's, you know, what I said, we're going to be sitting at these distilleries doing a live podcast with you guys. I would love for the distiller or the author to want to be part of this with us. And I'm like, but that's only going to take 10 years, girl.
But the vision is there.
The vision's there. In other words, I'm not building this as something to sell off.
Exactly.
I'm not building this as something to really replicate. Although if one of our, clients from Saige Consultants wanted to launch their own podcast as well, we would be able to guide them through the steps for that.
Yeah, because we did it.
But the goal is to retain control. And we know that I am directing and I am
She's a visionary. And, you know, and I will tell you, Patrick, thank you so much for this book, because with previous podcasts, we declared what each other's roles are. I am CEO of my own company, but I understand in this role and what we are doing, I'm not CEO here. I'm not the visionary of this company. She is, and we established that. And I'm here to be the entrepreneur. And so thank you for that.
But I appreciate that. But the other thing is, you know, I think of some people hearing that get concerned, like, oh, an entrepreneur isn't as bought in. No, we're in this.
Oh, no,
100%
equally.
Split this 50-50.
Yeah.
It's really just who wants to, in the end, make an ultimate decision on something, who needs to bear the ownership of decisions that are made, right?
And who's okay just being the supportive role and making sure that the vision is accomplished. And that's where I'm at.
I love that. Just to us, because they couldn't do this last time we talked. Like we were virtual.
We virtually ting at the camera.
We did. So the next part of this chapter that or this section, he talks about the pathway to exponential growth or linear growth. And I really thought about your module around understanding the entrepreneur mindset and the business owner mindset.
Yeah.
You know, the business owner, it might be safer with that linear growth and the things you have to concentrate on and the decisions you have to make for linear, you know, sustained growth versus exponential growth is really coming from that disruptive mindset, that confidence and things like that. But he really digs into those operating systems, and that operating systems and business development and relationships are going to sustain linear growth. But having that next innovation campaign and leadership development, that's your exponential growth.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is. And it's true. Like when you take time to invest in yourself, and we've read this in so many places and we've heard this before, when you work on yourself, your business can't help but get better. Relationships can't help but get better because you're working on yourself. And that's what causes that growth. And you may not see it in the first week or two, but it's the atomic habits, right? It's getting better as it builds.
It is. And I think a lot of times as a business leader too. So he started this book with Know Thyself. So knowing your strengths and acknowledging your weaknesses is essential, because if you know what your weakness is, you accept it, you can go and make sure that you're being the business leader you need to be and cultivating someone who's going to complement the weakness for you, and you grow together. Some people underestimate that, because I think a lot of times entrepreneurs come in and we think we know everything, right? We're pros at everything. We've done everything. We've experienced everything, and we're going to get through everything all by ourselves. Not true. And the only way you're going to get through things is if you find your complement, or you develop someone to be your complement. And then that's why he went in and he talked about leadership, how you style yourself and your training is going to make the difference on whether or not you get that exponential growth you're looking for.
He totally digs into that and talks about that you need to develop all those areas too. You can't just spend time in one area that you're comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
You got to dig into those other areas. And wrapping up from his graph, you can't just only work on leadership development. You do need to work on operating systems.
Oh, yeah. You don't just delegate it out because you just don't want to deal with it. No, you have to have some knowledge in every aspect.
Keep your hands in it.
Yeah, you do. Like, I can't think of something offhand as far as my business goes, but there are parts of the business that I absolutely do not care to do. Am I good at it? Sure. Do I want to do it? No. But I still need to know how to do it in order to be knowledgeable of that part of my business, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's where part of our module within the leadership, for the 8-week boot camp, you have to inspect what you're expecting. So even though you may have at some point passed off things to someone else, you still need to keep your hand in it because this is your baby. Yeah. Because unless your intention is to sell.
Yeah.
But whether you're good at something or not, or you understand it or not, doesn't mean you shouldn't have your hand in it. And it doesn't need to be fostered and cultivated for your business growth.
So I have actually a case study for that. Again, it's a case study that I went through personally. We're e-commerce sellers, so we were selling on Amazon. And Amazon was growing exponentially, and especially in the Amazon ad side of things, it started becoming imperative that we started utilizing Amazon ads to push our product. Well, I didn't have any experience in that. My husband didn't have any experience in that. And so I felt inadequate saying, hey, let me just go grab this random stranger over here to start handling these ads if I don't have at least somewhat of a general idea of how Amazon ads work. So what I did is we went ahead and worked in it for a few months to understand the lingo, how ads are placed, how the bidding strategies worked. We watched a few YouTube videos. We did our research and practice. Okay, we put it into practice. So that way, when we did hire on the team that's handling Amazon ads at the moment, we were not in the dark and we're just completely complacent in whatever they were doing. No, we had some sort of education
that you had to go through and take yourself through.
Exactly. So that's the part of a business owner is you need to educate yourself, grow that side that you're not familiar with, but that doesn't mean you have to stay in that lane. You're only educating yourself enough to hand it off so that way you know what they're doing in the future.
You know what to look for.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's one of the key things we talk about in your routine. You have to constantly be developing yourself.
Yep.
And I really love, because, I come from a corporate background. I love his part where he really digs into leadership development. And a lot of times young leaders have a really hard time motivating their teams to get better, right? They're working on getting better themselves, but they have a really hard time because they're younger. They're trying to figure out how to make sure everybody likes them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you get old, you just don't care. Like, you don't like me, that's your problem. Sounds like a you problem if you don't like me. That's not a me problem.
But I also think there's something about, not wanting to offend anyone and not wanting anyone to be hurt or hurt their feelings. But when you really want what's best for somebody, like, why wouldn't you speak up to try to encourage them to be better?
Yeah.
And I feel like I battle that so much, especially with leaders right now in their early 20s and mid 20s. They're just really afraid that somebody's not going to like what they hear.
But I'm sorry, this culture at the moment, anything you say is whipped back in your face, okay? I don't want to go political, but geez, you have to be careful about getting canceled nowadays. You're going to get canceled for drinking a hurricane, right? Because hurricanes tear through Florida, right? I mean, so I get it. I get it why you're trying to make everyone your friend, right? And it doesn't help that, especially in the corporate culture. You have to be liked if you want to get promoted, right? You got to be liked and you have to
drive results. Yes. So, and he even says, pushing someone to be their best is not for the faint of heart. Like, how do you develop that?
I don't know if I agree with his ways of pushing people, but anyways.
Well, yes. He talks a lot about being a lion. This part of it.
Why do you guys all use lions, right? Why? I'm telling you, right? I don't hear dragons. I don't hear. I mean, there's so many other animals, guys. Everyone uses lions,
right? All those motivational pictures with lions on it.
Yes. Find a crocodile, right?
But he talks about the hierarchy they build. And I think that's, he's writing a book for business-minded people. And I get where he's coming from, because a lion will fiercely protect his pride, fiercely, and make sure they're all taken care of and fed. But he's
doesn't
very quick.
feed them. The woman goes out there and gets the food. That's why I'm saying, why lions?
This is true. But he does talk about how the male lion will, like I said, protect the herd, tribe, pack. I don't know.
Pack.
Of a lion.
I think it's a pack.
Pack of lions.
We go a herd.
A pride of lions. Back to third grade. We did it. I'm smarter than a third grader. That's a good show. But I think it was fifth grader.
It was fifth grader.
Yeah. But anyways, he talks about building empires through leading people. And so he talks about ways to hold people accountable. And some simple ways, I guess, without getting canceled, if you will, is just to call them out, to keep them at their word, right? If somebody says they're going to do something and then it doesn't get done, a curiosity question. Hey, we agreed that this was going to happen. Can you let me know what challenges got in your way?
Yeah, having a finesse to ask that.
To ask it PC, yes.
It is. But see, that's the thing about the younger generation, too, is, it's not their fault either. There is a skill, there is a craft to being able to ask that question without being offensive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And work on learning that. But that you can only do through leadership development.
That's true.
You got to listen to things. You got to read things. You got to talk to people who have been through it.
Yeah, but if you keep promoting the person who keeps kissing butt, then that person
not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
He talks about asking why and then listening, like truly waiting for an answer and dialoguing further.
Yeah.
He talks about making specific and quantitative statements. So he's not saying, hey, work harder, work faster, but can we get this accomplished in this time frame?
Yeah.
Giving specific quantitative. This project by this date.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Actually, in our goal setting one, that's one of the things that I go over is you make your goals and then you set the dates of what it has to be consensus. After you go through your team, you go and say, these are the things that need to be done. Hey, such and such person, this is something I want to assign to you. How long do you think you'll need to accomplish
this? Yep.
Yeah.
You need
and the thing was is I didn't assign. Damn it! I touched it again. I didn't assign it. They assigned it. So then it's easier to come back and say, hey, we didn't meet this deadline. What happened?
What happened? Why? What do we need to do different next time?
Yeah.
Have a growth mindset. Have a growth mindset. Absolutely. In going further with leadership development and holding people accountable, he says, provide clear metrics and clear incentives, which I agree. You talk about as you're learning your business and you're delegating who does what, link it back to a metric that drives that. And if something that you're wanting somebody to do doesn't drive a metric, maybe we don't need to do it.
Yeah.
Now one person could argue, well, why does cleaning the toilet drive a metric? Well, it does because it impacts the culture in your store. It creates a mood and a level of respect for the people who will use that toilet. So if it's dirty and disgusting, what does that say about your attention to the rest of your business? Versus if you are caring about your staff or your customers, you want them to have a clean, safe experience.
Yeah. Says anyone using a toilet in Walmart. Okay? You all know what I'm talking about.
Yes. He talks about role clarity. This is very true as well.
Yeah.
So, you're working on developing yourself as a leader. You're trying to hold your team accountable. Is there clear role clarity? Who is responsible for what? Just like you said, can you accomplish this in this time frame? Is what you're asking them within their wheelhouse?
Yeah.
Right? Are you asking your bookkeeper to put clasps on the jewelry?
See, and that's something that's a little bit harder when it comes to, solopreneur, really small. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways we kind of got around that is we acknowledged first, you have to acknowledge if someone is wearing multiple hats. And funny enough, at one point, my husband was wearing like 4 different hats, right? We labeled them, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he had a name for each one of those hats that he was wearing.
The hat had a name, or his persona had a name?
That persona.
Oh,
for that particular role. So, for example, like if he,
I love that.
If he was editing content or something, he was Giuseppe, right? So we would say, oh, hey, Giuseppe, we're assigning Giuseppe this particular task. But it was a way of solidifying that role and just saying, hey, this is, so just a tip to anyone, if you're a small business and you're wearing multiple hats here, I got you. It still needs to be defined, right? You can run multiple roles. You can hire someone to run multiple roles, but acknowledge those multiple roles that they are running, right? And you can play around with it, like we did. We played around with different roles and different names for each role. And that way, when you do have a task that has to be assigned to that role, you can just label it, but that person knows, okay, I'm responsible for this one. Right
Absolutely.
Here. And it'll help you too.
It's so fun.
Yeah, Giuseppe. Yeah.
Somebody's doing edits for us on like the thumbnails. So be like, Giuseppe. Excellent. I love it. Well, he wraps up his leadership development part and really holding people accountable with making sure you finish with heart and empathy, which is surprised coming from him because he seems so analytical, right? But that people and heart and empathy piece is very much the a role of somebody who's more of a supporter usually, right? And the collaborator mindset. But it's good to realize that that's important.
Well, I think he probably, like a page out of your leadership workshop.
Yes, Patrick, did you listen to it?
Yeah. Contact us. We'll hook you up. In your leadership workshop, Kristen talks about, that there's 4 different archetypes and maybe you really gravitate towards one. And I think he does as well.
Yeah.
However, you have to learn. And so that's him channeling the other one.
But I do love that he wraps with that.
Yeah.
Heart and empathy. I agree. Because you really can't grow someone if the purpose isn't to better them.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like you can't open a business if your purpose isn't to serve your customer.
Yeah.
So it goes true.
And being personal with them too, heart to heart. It's not just business. You got to be in tune with them personally as well.
Yep. He talks about this because this is all around scaling, right? So, and he talks about the linear growth and the exponential growth. Well, one of his advices is to overdose on speed. He says, and by speed, he means pace.
Do you now?
Although he was a party boy.
That's what I'm about to say.
And in Vegas, like 30 times a year. He said.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyways, he says, how can you make things more efficient and faster? He said, look at the evolution of the car, for example.
Yeah.
In 1977, it took 8 seconds for a certain model that I didn't put into my notes to get to 60 miles per hour. And by 2017, it took only 3 seconds for a variant of that model. So talk about evolving the speed, right?
Yeah.
And then he also gives the example, which, E-Myth did as well. McDonald's.
Yes.
Make it fast and easy, right?
I definitely with the optimizing your processes, right? So optimizing your business for sure. I get it. You want speed because, listen, social media, the internet, even YouTube over here. I guess YouTube can be considered a social media platform.
Totally. It's a search engine and a social media platform.
All of this has sped up the evolution, right, of humanity, really. So I understand speed. What I don't agree with is quality.
Well, of course, yeah. And I think he even says he's not referring to, but what you're saying is you don't want to trade quality for speed.
Because what I find sometimes, we're so hyper-focused on, optimize speed. That's where humanity gets left behind, right?
And things are just metric. People are just numbers.
And then the quality as well, right? Because we start sacrificing certain things, saying, well, we can get this result faster if we sacrifice this. And it could be something that was maybe as simple as a human touch, which added quality to the business. Well, that I don't agree with.
Even start with why. Simon talks about companies that really lost their way. They started with a really great why, then maybe the founder passed away.
Yeah.
A new CEO or executive comes in and they are just, wow, this business is up double digits year after year. Let's keep that going. What metric can we get after? And pretty soon it's about the metric, not about the customer anymore. And it's a dangerous place to take your business. You probably could do it as a quick Band-Aid, right? You need to quickly get your business back in line. So what metric do we need to go after? How do we solve a financial crisis quickly?
Yeah.
But then you need to get back to your why. And Simon talks about that. And I feel like with what I'm about to go into next, even Patrick does, because he talks about things that can get in the way of growth. He says booze, yep, greed, gambling.
Oh,
And he may be talking literally too, but when you take higher risks, because business is doing great, I'm making lots of money.
You get comfortable. You get comfortable. I think a lot of times us entrepreneurs, and I know you can definitely relate, and watching, if you've just dived into entrepreneurship, or even if you've been here for a while, you've been through a cycle, right? You're very eager. You're here, and when you first start out, you're putting in all these hours and you're so steadfast to get to this goal, right? To make it happen. So when you get there, you think you can coast. No, guys, do not coast.
Okay. This is where that book, Richest Man in Babylon, really comes to mind.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
Oh my gosh.
My gosh. It's going to be
If you haven't read it, pause the video, order it.
I'm pausing.
Okay, are you back? Did you order it? Listen, talk about financial guidance and advice.
Yeah.
Right? So here is Babylon, this at its height, right? A very wealthy city, opulent, and some of the richest, wealthiest merchants and such there. Okay. So the king asks one of his advisors, why is it we still have so many people in poverty and so many people jobless? And, the king is advised, well, they really haven't been taught how to be rich. And so this is a dangerous pitfall that people fall into.
Like the lottery syndrome, right?
Absolutely.
People who win the lottery lose it 7 years later or less.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the principles that were written hundreds of years ago, in these these tales coming out of Babylon where the richest man, I forget his name in it, but he basically talks to a group of 100 men and he gives them different principles for what to do with their money. And it's easy when you have this extra income all of a sudden because your business is doing well, or maybe you even got that loan or investor to put it in and you're like, oh, yay, I have a cushion, but you don't.
Yeah, go ask Friedman.
Right? So, again, hope you ordered that book, but let's continue with this.
I'm going to get that book now.
Yes. So good. So he talks about the 5 deadly sins for entrepreneurs. I'll tell you, Patrick, you love your lists, don't you? I notes are list after list after list. And I like lists too. I like lists too because they're quantitative, right?
Yeah.
You go through and check them off
and
feel successful. But here's his 5 deadly sins for entrepreneurs. And I feel like having read, The Richest Man in Babylon recently, I'm like, oh, yes, because some of the people who were poor listening to the richest man teaching them how to be wealthy, he advises against, in theory, some of these things. One is being too cheap or splurging unwisely.
Yeah.
And that happens, right? Because you even said, as you get more money, that hole has to be filled.
Yeah, Parkinson's law.
Yep.
Yeah, if there's space, it has to be filled.
Right?
Kind of reminds me like you just said right now, okay, either being too frugal, right? Too cheap, or splurging too much, right? It's like that thing where they say, the thing you should spend the most money on is a good bed because you're spending half your life there. So you don't want to be too cheap, right? But you don't need to go get the $18,000 bed either, right? So
it's so nice.
You got to find like that middle ground, right?
What does an $18,000 bed feel like?
I don't know. Probably delicious.
Oh,
no.
Right?
Probably just
amazing.
Extra.
I love purple. I love my purple. It feels so good. But you're right.
Yeah, you don't
find the middle ground.
You value what needs to be valued, right? And then
for each person, that's different.
And it is different. It is all relative. But then be frugal on what needs to be frugal. And again, that's all relative.
Absolutely. He says, letting the wrong people influence you.
Oh, huge.
I love that.
Huge.
And I'll tell you, motivational speaker and successful entrepreneur after another. I listen to them daily on anywhere I drive at this point. I don't listen to the radio anymore.
You too.
I hear if you want to be successful, study success. If you want to be wealthy, study wealth. If you want to be kind, study kindness. So
and not just study, but mimic.
And mimic. So your tribe attracts your body. Your body attracts your tribe.
Either way.
Right? So another 7 deadly sin is having a royalty mentality. And I feel like we see this a lot, especially with young, quick, successful business owners.
Well, you're talking about the ones driving the Ferrari just after, on YouTube, even though it's rented, right? That one? You talking about that one?
Maybe. Yeah. Yep. And then this is so true. Obsessively comparing yourself to others. That's so dangerous.
It is. And, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard this already. Social media doesn't help that. What you're seeing on social media, and even I dare say on YouTube, is the best side of people, right?
Sure.
Or the drunk side of people. Depends on what you want to look at it. But it is the best side of people that they're showing.
This is
their face. Yeah, my good side. Guys, this is my entire good side. You're blessed.
Everything on you is a good side.
So what ends up happening is you go and you think that this is the way you're supposed to live. Right. And it happens in business too. You go on LinkedIn or you're meeting this person at a networking event. You're thinking, man, this is exactly how I need to be. I don't have these things. My business card doesn't look like that. I don't have a headshot like this. And you start comparing yourself and downing yourself, saying, I don't have all of these things, really, when really
they probably don't either.
But just turn it around, though.
Instead of you have.
Yeah. Or even what do you have? Or just saying, you know what? I like how this person's business card looks. I like how their headshot looks. I'm going to try and do that myself, but not downing yourself. You just aspire to do it like them if they are successful.
It puts me in the mindset back to where we were really talking with the Think and Grow Rich book, right? Just really
be thankful.
Be thankful, be okay with things, shake your pom-pom.
Yeah, and everything.
Let go of the dials, all those parties are really around just honoring you and your journey.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. Yes. Absolutely.
So that's one of the reasons why I said that part of the book was so, it's funny. Every part of the book impacted me in a different way. And I know depending on the journey you're on, it'll impact you in a different way. Mm-hmm. But know thyself was big for me because if I know myself, I'm comfortable with myself. I know my talents. I acknowledge my weaknesses and I'm okay with it. So when I'm faced with people who possibly could make me feel inadequate, if I know myself, then I'm not inadequate. I'm okay with it.
You're okay. And you also look at your relationship with them as what can you learn from them?
Exactly. It's a learning,
having that mindset.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
So he wraps up this whole section of, the master the ability to scale, really wrapping up growth. And he talks about the importance of using data, of course.
Right? Love my data. I love my data. This girl actually came out with a statistic report and I was just like, changing numbers.
Love that. And then using that data to make logical, smart predictions. And I think that's why, you talk about one of your modules to actually look out at a 5-year plan now, because it allows you to look at things at a bigger picture. And knowing that your business is stable, you don't have to panic at a low dip.
Yeah.
For a season, you can almost prepare for it. You'd be like, you know what? This is feeling a lot like 2019.
Yeah. Cyclical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Business is.
It is.
It always follows the seasons, right? You're going to have a winter where things are really rough, but I promise you after winter.
Yeah. So you get our spring.
Yes, absolutely. So it will come back if you plan correctly, of course. And then this is, again, I feel like so many of the business books we read talk about this. In order to scale, you have to make your knowledge transferable.
Yeah.
So we talk about, keeping logs of what you're doing as you're launching your business, creating a turnkey business, making it so that you could hand it off and say, I put this system in place. This is my routine for this. This is my routine for this. Here, person that I hired, continue it. I'm going to go to the Fiji. Bye.
Yeah.
Or you could franchise.
Yeah.
Or you could sell because it's replicable, and because you have your systems in place, you could sell for a lot more because I'm ready to franchise.
I think in the startup, Be Chic, when we started back in 2010, we didn't grow for such a long period of time. Well, we grew, but we didn't grow as much as we could have because I was just no, this is mine. I don't want to tell you this because you could take it away from me. This is mine.
I'm hoarding information.
I was hoarding information. I wasn't being open because I was so scared that someone would go and do it too and take my business away.
That's your corporate training, right? Like it's so cutthroat in most corporate, especially sales environments.
Yeah.
So you take your client, take your data.
So you just hoard it in. You don't share. You only share the things. Yeah, you only share the things that are non-threatening, right? Or what is it, compartmentalize, and you just go this and this and this and this, which is still accurate. You should, that's why the roles are important. But the biggest thing is when I had that switch and just said, you know what, it's okay. Let me show what I need to show, because it's first is taking stuff off of me and then really coming to realize, entrepreneurs, I want to tell you something. If you are currently in a business, you're currently doing your own thing, you have done more than 98% of everyone else, okay? So do not feel like you need to hoard information, because even when the people have that information, typically they don't do anything with it. So give it away. That's what I had to learn.
And the other thing I think is really beautiful about the entrepreneur community is we're here for each other. It is not cutthroat.
It is. I actually just had a conversation with a guy today, and just, in the government contracting world, I needed some advice. And so he is a competitor in every sense of the word, because he could do what I'm doing, but I literally had a conversation and he gave me honest advice about how to handle a particular situation. And I'm like, dude, this is how it should be. A community. Find your community and leverage up. We want to help because we understand it is a very close-knit group.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. So he wraps up this section with kind of a I looked at it as a warning, right? But we read this in Enith too. And this is for those of you who are truly wanting to scale and grow at one point. So if you have come to us as, our Saige community clients, and you were like, my goal is to have time with my family. That's why I am starting my own business. Well, if you don't put systems in place, and plan for growth and make goals and budget for growth, then you have a very limited chance for growth. Yeah. So now we do have people who are just like, this is just something I enjoy doing, and this is going to be my income, right? So they're only looking to replace their $60,000 a year or $70,000 a year that they were making at corporate. They just want to do it for themselves, a little less of corporate stress. Fine. But for those,
I'm sorry. Bleep that out, okay? I'm sorry. The whole thing of, let me just replace my income, and because I just want to replace my income, and this is it. No, it's garbage, because guess what ends up happening? When you go and you say, I'm going to replace my $60,000 a year job with my own business, there are no weekends off, okay? You're working at a corporate job, you get your weekends and your nights off, maybe you don't. But what I'm trying to tell you is you will always have the business in your forefront because it's yours.
Yeah, you'll have a responsibility.
You have the responsibility.
You don't get to check out.
You don't get to check out. However, if you get your systems in place and you grow your business and you start thinking 5 moves ahead, you will have a better mindset in when you're calm, that's the word I'm looking for.
You're planful and calculative in what you're doing.
But there's a calming effect that happens where you're okay with saying, hey, I'm going to take the weekend off. I'm going to go on this vacation. I'm going to take the night off.
You have systems in place and your business will be fine.
Exactly. Yes. So that's the thing, is I don't want someone coming in and saying, oh yeah, I don't want to get huge like Patrick. I don't want to get huge like Patrick either. Like everything he built, that's not my desire. And that's okay too. However, I do desire a work-life balance. And in order to achieve that, you do need to have systems in place.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm saying, like, just don't go in the mentality, I don't want to be a millionaire. I just want to make $60,000 a year. Okay, great. But you still need processes.
You do.
You still need to do what he's talking about in the book. Maybe not at this gigantic scale.
Right. You don't need to go international.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't need to be building up, a person of 1,200 team members, but still there are between E-Myth and this, but you know what? Start at book 1 and move forward.
Yeah.
Between all of those books, you still need that.
Absolutely. So he loves wrapping up everything with lists.
Yeah. Give us a list one more time.
Patrick, you need a t-shirt that says I like lists like that. But he lists really things to do to help you prepare your systems. One of them is trust numbers, not people. Numbers don't lie.
They don't. I like numbers.
I love this one. Stay urgent every day.
Yeah.
Stay alert.
Yeah.
Remember that the better you do, the more vulnerable you are. See, that's part of staying alert too, right? The people will come and attack those Goliaths are going to come after you. We kind of get into that in the last one.
Yeah, Patrick, come on now.
I'm in drama. Stay centered, manage your ego, and seek wise counsel.
I like that one.
Isn't that interesting? He says, seek wise counsel. It's like he's referring us. Sage means wisdom. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining this episode. We're still working on building this community, so you know what we need from you. Please, if you're getting value out of this, please like and subscribe.
And share.
Please share, right?
Yes.
And then please remember, grab a good book,
Get some great booze.
grab a good buddy to share it with. See you all next week.
Bye, Dad.
Bye. Yes. Hurricane and it's hurricane season coming up. Like 2 more months.
So help me, girl. Gotta renew my house insurance.